Hello and welcome to a new video. In today's video we're going to take a look at the best teams for the Open World League with a buffed Pokemon. I already made a video about earlier basically about the best buffed Pokemon. Most of them going to be in today's video, not all of them, but most of them. And so today we're going to have only teams here where we're going to be able to use some of the newly buffed Pokemon. And so if you enjoy this type of videos, feel free to leave a like, but let's take a look at the meta first. Taking a look now at the Ultra League core meta, we're going to see that basically next to nothing changed here in the beginning. They are all the kind of the same Pokemon that you would have seen before. Zygarde would have access actually to the move Bulldoze, which got changed, not really buffed. But like nothing really changed here. We see Steelix though. Steelix doesn't actually want to run Thunder Fang, even though we're going to have a team here for this Pokemon with Thunder Fang later on in the video as well. But nothing really got changed here. And the first Pokemon that actually got buffed a little bit more significant and gonna be like meta now is going to be Gliscor. Gliscor is going to be the best one, as you saw already in the video earlier on. This Pokemon is going to be top tier, but they're not really a lot of Pokemon that got changed. Sensor's got a little bit of a climb, Stunfisk's got a little bit of a climb, but you saw this all in the video already basically earlier on. I would rather recommend you to check that one out to see actually which Pokemon are the better one. It's going to be linked in the end card anyway. Check the video out, we will move right into the top teams. Moving on now to the team number 1. We see here Electivire as well as the Bellibolt in the lead. Both of them got access to the buffed Thundershock. Electivire also got access to the buffed Ice Punch. To be fair, in the Open World League, it's a bit more trickier to use the current recent buffs compared to the Open Great League. Open Great League got a little bit more of a treatment because like moves like Ice Punch, Fire Punch, and Thunder Punch are not as strong in the Open Ultra League compared to the Open Great League, just because the bulk level is a bit higher. And while they got a buff, they're still not the best moves. They're still very mediocre, I would say. And so you really see a Pokemon to use it. And as you can see as well, this team still kind of works out quite well. We're going to have a Gastron in the back, which is going to function as a kind of anti-ground type Pokemon, anti-poison type boy. But also, I would actually say the Talonflame might be a little bit better here, I feel like. Because if you think about it, your lead, for example, could struggle a little bit against, actually, with Electivire. That's the cool thing about Electivire, you have Ice Punch. So you are a Nectic type Pokemon, but why Ice is such a great coverage is because you're kind of weak to offensively and defensively the Grass and the Ground typing. Grass, of course, resists the Electric typing, but you're also going to be able to hit both of them with the super effective hit of Ice Punch, but also even Dragon type Pokemon. You're also going to have those as a resistance for like the Electric type moves, and you're still going to be able to hit them for super effective damage. Basically making Electivire a very safe lead, and also having the access to Wild Charge allows you to do the chip and dip strategy, going for a Wild Charge, taking a debuff, and then swapping out straight away into your Feraligatr, which is the best taste-up in the meta. That's going to be definitely a very usable strategy, and that's going to be it for the first team, and we can move on to the next one. Starmie, oh Starmie. This Pokemon is going to be a bit more trickier to get in here. Starmie is going to be a Pokemon that is gonna be not as great in the Ultra League compared to the Great League. Great League again going to be a bit more beneficial for this Pokemon as you don't really have the bulk. But if you're not citizens, we're gonna take a look at this Pokemon mostly tomorrow as well, even before the meta is gonna drop. That's at least my plan. We're going to have Licky here, and we're going to have Pangoro in that bag. Pangoro, Starmie core is basically perfect. There's not really a lot that can break this one. And as you can see as well, we're running Ice Beam on Starmie, allowing you to hit Pokemon a little bit better, like for example the Zygarde, which is just going to be able to hit for double super effective damage, which is going to be kind of nice. But also against Pokemon like the Giratina, you're going to have a bit more play. Issue is here that you're going to have a bit less play against Feraligatr, but both of the Pokemon that you have in the back for this team here are going to be very good against this Pokemon. And so this is one of the best teams that you can run around Starmie. Team number 3 is going to be a team here with Gliscor. Gliscor is the hardest buffed Pokemon basically here. The normal variant is actually a little bit better than the Shadow variant. Both of them are totally fine though. Whatever one you have, you can use. Licky and Melting in the back just makes a lot of sense. Like this is a thing that you see quite often with flying type Pokemon recently. Like I also see like in the Open Great League, Jumpluff and then double Roller users. But Melting just has a bit of a better play compared to the Feraligatr against other Feraligatrs, against Ice type Pokemon. And this is kind of why you have a lead that's going to be able to beat Fire type Pokemon, especially with Aerial Ace and Sand Attack being very fast. And then you're going to have 2 normal type Pokemon as your save swaps, or like as a Pokemon in the back. And they're going to be able to beat your hardest answers, and also still going to be able to bait out those Fire type Pokemon while still doing damage with Body Slam. So this team makes a lot of sense. I think it's going to be a great team to use. And we can now move on to team number 4, which is going to be around the Unnovan Stunfisk. having access to Thundershock definitely buffed this Pokemon quite a bit, as you saw in the video early on already. This Pokemon has more play this season, and as you're gonna see here as well, this Pokemon is going to be a very solid, beating quite a lot of the meta Pokemon and having a lot of neutral play while being a core breaker to a lot of teams. And so here we have Cresselia in the lead, which is going to be weak against Pokemon, for example, like Talonflame. But if you're gonna take a look at our Saisops, we're going to, or like Pokemon in the back there, we're going to have the Saisop of Drapion and the Closer of Stunfisk. Both of them going to be fine against that one. Drapion Cresselia core has been really good since the beginning, basically, of Ultra League. And I do think that this team has a lot of play, and especially the Stunfisk kind of runs out this team here. And also Drapion is just a great bait Pokemon, because you have access to Awkward here, doing super effective damage against Ground-type Pokemon, and also baiting out Ground-type Pokemon with the Poison typing that you have. So Stunfisk doesn't have to really face them, which is really important. And you still have Cresselia to punish them, or Virizion to punish them as well, which has access to Grass Knot / then Leaf Blade for the Virizion. So that's definitely a very solid idea. Moving on, we're going to have here next the Annihilate in the lead. We have the Feraligatr as a Saisop and the Alolan Sandslash in the back. On paper, Annihilate and Sandslash is a nearly perfect core. There's just one Pokemon that kinda does not really want to, makes me use this team here, is kinda the Feraligatr. It is fine here though, because you have the Saisop of Feraligatr, and you can still play out the matchup for your own Annihilate against the Feraligatr as well. But yeah, basically the only answer for this core is Feraligatr. There's not really another Pokemon that can really break this core. I guess maybe Malamar a bit. But yeah, basically anything else you're going to have at least some play against, which is really good. And so this nearly a perfect core. We have the Saisop, of course, that is always going to be the best Saisop. It's going to be Feraligatr here. And it's just a solid team. You can also use LilyKatchum as a Saisop if you want to. Helps you out with the Feraligatr matchup, makes the matchup against other Pokemon with fighting type coverage a bit worse. You have to decide, but this team definitely still looks very strong. Also, a lot of teams here are suggested by Dracos as well. They're not all built from myself, but here we're going to have a team that I built with the Alolan Sandslash, which is a team that honestly I didn't really build, to be fair. It's something that has been around the entire time around already as well. One of the more common teams the last few seasons. What I actually would change here from what I can see is I actually would not go for Shadow Claw on the Giratina Altered. This was just the standard moveset. I would decide to go for the Dragon Breath variant. I think Dragon Breath does make more sense for this team, making it a bit more different as well, because you already have two Shadow Claw users in the bag. Dragon Breath going to allow you to beat Pokemon like Licky most likely, and that's going to be great. Or having an even better matchup against, yeah, just generally any kind of normal type Pokemon going to be a bit important. I feel like Licky itself here is going to be a better Saisop than the Lostheart, but I just want to give you an alternative. So what I actually would recommend you here for this team is Dragon Breath on Giratina, Saisop Licky, and the Sandslash in the back. As we can now move on to the next team, we're going to have a team here with Electivire or the Stunfisk in the lead, the Drifblim, as well as the Moltres. If you run the other lead of Stunfisk, you're going to have a double weakness to Ice-type Pokemon, which I kind of would not really like too much. But again, this team is here suggested from Dracos as well. It's going to be quite an interesting one. On paper, I feel like it's going to be a very solid team. Having double Flyer makes a lot of sense in the current meta. Of course, it's kind of trying to cover the Ground-type weakness, which is the only weakness defensively for Electric-type Pokemon, with the Pokemon that they have in the bag. And so, yeah, this definitely does make sense. He has one big issue though for this team as well, and that's going to be Gustlord. If you encounter Gustlord, it's going to be a very tricky matchup. But yeah, that's going to be it for this one. Let's move on to team number 8. Which is also team number great. We're going to have here two buffs with the Thunder Punch on the Typhlosion and Gliscor Sky Ascent Attack again. And as you can see here, that looks really good on paper. That looks really good on paper. Licky, the only Pokemon that kinda beats it, but not really even, I would say. Only, I guess, Mandibuzz is going to be a bit more of a trickier one, but if you're scared about Mandibuzz, just don't go for the Gliscor, rather go for the Cobalion. You're going to have a bit of a better time. And this team definitely looks like a lot of fun. Bulky lead, saves up of Typhlosion, gonna burn things down, going to have Thunder Punch as a good coverage move. And so, I actually really think this team is going to have a great time there in the current meta. And I definitely kind of want to try this one out as well. But let's move on to team number 9. Which is going to be more like something that I am used to playing. We're going to have Everluck here though, which is going to kind of substitute for the Auroras. I like Auroras a little bit more, Auroras a little bit better. But Everluck getting access to the move Ice Fang actually looks like a good Pokemon to use. And so maybe I'm going to take a look at this Pokemon as well eventually. But as you will see here, this team definitely looks like a good one. There's next to no Pokemon that really can break this one. I guess Malamar can be a bit tricky again as well, but team effort should be kind of enough here as well. And so, yeah, this team looks like a lot of fun, should be really solid, and we can move on to the next one. Final team, this time around we're going to have Thunder Fang on Steelix. We have the normal Steelix, so you can use the Shadow Steelix, both of them are totally fine. Basically what it's designed here is there are two ways of playing it depending on which Pokemon you have. If you want to play it the way that I intended it first, then you're gonna start with the Steelix, have the Drifblim and in the back as well as the Clefable. Drifblim, Clefable have a core, and then you have Steelix in the lead trying to basically align itself. For example, against like Water-type Pokemon, like for Religator, for example, you're going to be able to stay in and just farm it down in the 2-shield scenario, avoiding basically the matchup for the Drifblim, and you're just gonna try to align yourself. That's basically the idea behind it. If you don't really like the strategy of staying in the lead most of the time, unless it's a hard counter where you then sub out into the worst version basically against it. For example, there's a normal water type Pokemon in the lead, you can sub out maybe into something like the Drifblim. But for example, there's a Verizon in the lead, which is really, really bad for you. We have to swap out. Here, of course, we have two good answers for it, but you would swap out into the Clefable just in order to have the more better resistance basically. Still lay down with the Drifblim. I think that's going to be the better way to go. There's some occasions there as well, like where you kind of, for example, you have like a Malamar in the lead and you want to swap out, which you don't really have to, but you would swap then into the Drifblim. That's kind of a playstyle. Otherwise, if you don't like this playstyle and you rather would have a set say swap, then go for Primeape as a say swap and just play it literally like as an ABC style line. If you have a bad lead, swap out into Primeape and play basically from there on. So yeah, this team has like two kind of styles. This is going to be all set for this video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, feel free to leave a like and I will see you then. Bye bye.